Hello and welcome to A Message for You with me, Martha. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. There's a lot of signs and symbols. For some reason today, this is about making yourself your own higher power. And one of the things that Spirit said to me is the people who will stand by you and believe you will stand by you and believe you. I'm going to label this with a bit of a trigger warning for those that might need that. So, okay. Spirit is telling me that someone in our collective, in some way, somehow, is going to hit rock bottom. And they're like, you got to tell them about your rock bottom. And rock bottom is rock bottom. It doesn't matter if it's food. It doesn't matter if it's drugs. It doesn't matter if it's work. It doesn't matter if it's running. It doesn't matter what the rock bottom is or the thing that you're doing obsessively. When you realize you're doing something obsessively and this is no longer physically or mentally healthy and just in general not healthy for you, you will reach a rock bottom. And you may have several rock bottoms that give you the experience to have the final rock bottom. Okay? 144 on the timer. So my highest weight has been 330 pounds. I have had gastric bypass surgery. The one thing, and I'm a type 2 diabetic, which is why I had it, because it is the only thing that cures it. Otherwise, no matter, you reach a point where you just don't lose weight anymore. And even if you do get down to a certain weight, you will, as you age, be on insulin. It's just, that's how it goes. Pills and then shots. And don't ever let them try to convince you of anything else, because I've observed this for a very, very long period of time, which in my clients, which is the reason why I made the choices that I made. And one of the things I was talking to Spirit about today was how when I was younger, I hit a rock bottom with dieting where I went, my God, I just want to be a size 0 in 3 days. And I had to stand there and say to myself, but is that practical? Can I be a size 0 in 3 days? Will that Women's World, weekly diet actually get me to that weight size that I want to so I can feel better and start to have a life? And I was like, no, that's not going to work. So I had to step back, and this was my first rock bottom, and say, okay, so what is practical? What is a practical size? Because I can't do it by weight because of my dyscalculia, and it doesn't make any sense. So I have to do it by size. And I was a 3X at the time, and all I could think of was, if I'm just an extra large, it doesn't matter where I go. I can shop anywhere. If I go to a concert, I can, buy a t-shirt. If I'm on vacation, I can buy a t-shirt. I don't have to look for specialty shops anymore. I can shop anywhere as an extra large. It doesn't matter. And that's what I decided to do. Right in that moment, at the age of 22, 333 on the timer, I made the choice to only go down 2 sizes because that felt manageable. I remember standing there eating this rolled banana cake with cream cheese frosting, and I was going to binge eat the whole thing. I got 3 bites in and realized I don't binge eat. I eat things that are very high in calories, which is not binge eating. Maybe it's binge calorie eating, which that's actually calorie binging. Because sometimes the food you're putting in your face, it's only half a sub, but how many calories is that half a sub? You know what I'm saying? So that was I think like one of my second ones. And then after that, what it became is just making tiny, slight, little changes over a very long period of time. Because remember, I'm 53. If this had been, if I had been 22 10 years ago, we'd be having a whole different conversation. I'd know more now than what I knew in the 90s. But in the 90s, they didn't talk about the reasons why people are addicted to food. They didn't even talk about food addiction. Which sounds confusing, right? And it is confusing. Anytime you're addicted to something, it is confusing. because you're confused. You're confused about the addiction. You don't know why you're addicted, but yet you do know why you're addicted. And especially with food, half the time you don't really know. We use it as a self-defense mechanism. Is really and truly what it is, you know. The bigger we are, the less we can be bothered, you know. But there came a point where I became diabetic, and I had to figure out how to be diabetic allergic to Splenda. And the one thing I just needed was to be able to put sugar in my coffee. And I had to go to the Canadian Diabetics Association to find out that information, which is just the carbs in the 2 teaspoons of sugar, 3 teaspoons of sugar I put in my coffee. You just count those carbs and you put them in with your snack carb for the day. I drink 1 cup of coffee a day. It's not that many snack carbs that I have to sacrifice. And I never used my snack carbs because I only eat when I'm hungry. Because if I eat when I'm not hungry, I gain weight. But there did come a point. There came a point where I had to sit down with myself and say, what kind of life do I want? I am not promoting this surgery, by the way. If you are interested and you need me to talk more in depth about my opinion of it, I will certainly do that for you. 100% 633 on the timer. Do not have a problem with that. But the decision to have that surgery came because I couldn't lose any weight. I was stalling. I couldn't stop having Pepsi. I couldn't stop eating KFC. I couldn't, you know, I had already at this point, I had given up McDonald's because McDonald's is nasty. I had given up Burger King. I was eating Wendy's or KFC or Taco Bell. I was drinking less soda than what I used to. And in the 90s, I would drink 2 6-packs a day. And by the time of my gastric bypass surgery, I was only drinking soda on like the weekends or with, like, I had to be eating to drink the soda. I couldn't just be sitting there grabbing a soda at the store and drinking it. No, I had to have a reason to be drinking that soda because I like to drink the soda with food, and that's when it was most pleasurable. So that's what I would do. Like at some point I just realized I like having Pepsi when I have popcorn and pizza. So I would only allow myself to have soda when I have popcorn and pizza. You see, I'm slowly gaining my control back, and I'm not allowing that food to gain control over me anymore. And at some point, confirmation knock, and at some point I stopped and I stepped back and I said, I have to have this surgery because I felt like if I didn't, that in 5 years, not only would I be dead, but I realized that watching, as a cosmetologist, watching my clients trying to deal with type 2 diabetes, as they grew older, they went from pills to insulin shots. They got to a point where their weight stalled off. There was nothing they could do. And I just said, I can't. I have to take control of my life. And I hit my second to last rock bottom, which was the making of the decision to have this surgery. And then that whole 6 months, just tapering back on things that I didn't necessarily need and enjoying the things I knew I would never eat again. But not in a way where I was making myself gain weight. Then I had the surgery. If you're diabetic and they want you not to eat for 3 days, you need to talk to them about that and say, no. I can, there need 911 on the thing. Yeah, that was really hard for me. I couldn't do that. I had to eat minimal food, and then because I am diabetic. When I woke up from that surgery, that was my rock bottom. You go in for surgery and then you wake up and immediately they're checking your insulin. They're having you drink these little tiny things of water. They're this big. They're one of those little itty bitty cups, and you're drinking them, and you have to drink one, and then you have to wait a second, and you've got to drink the next one, and you have so many that you have to drink within a certain amount of time. For me, waking up from that surgery was waking up in rehab. And from that point forward, I had the choice. I could either start eating KFC again. I could start eating all of the cupcakes and the soda again. I could do that, or I could make the choice not to go backwards back into the addiction. Do we need sugar in our batter for fried chicken? No, we don't. It doesn't add flavor. It doesn't add flavor. And let's be real, frank, and honest here. It doesn't need it for goldening either, because it's just basically burning the sugar. That's not golden, that's orange. Like the Cheeto in Office. Talk about a chicken. Does disservice to a chicken. Anyway, I don't care if you don't like that. Because he and his actions are the reason why we're addicted to food, or addicted to exercise and diets, or why we stop eating. Because it's control. It's the only thing we can control when somebody disturbs our energy field without our permission. We run off the feeling. We eat the feeling away. We stop eating so we don't have to feel. And you have to have that rock bottom, whether it's diet and exercise, whether it's anorexia or bulimia, whether it's drugs, it doesn't matter. You have to have that rock bottom in that feeling of rehab. And that feeling of rehab is waking up and realizing, I don't want to eat a Pringle anymore. I don't want to eat this and I don't want to eat that. I don't want to bring soda back into my life. I don't want to bring these things in my life that made me 330 pounds. I wanted my life back. And I didn't want it back in a way where now I was controlling the food from the other way, which I do have the eating disorder that goes the opposite way. It makes me feel great not to eat food. And then I have to stop and go, no, you've got to eat this. And then you've got to eat that. And it really mostly only happens when I'm super stressed out. Really and truly. So when you wake up, you have those choices to make. And at some point, you know you're going to make these choices. You know you're going to do it. Because the first time I decided that I was going to lose weight and I was going to do the diets and I was going to do the keto and I was going to do the Atkins and I knew on the inside I wasn't going to succeed. I knew I wasn't going to succeed. But it doesn't matter. Okay, if in the inside you know you're not going to succeed on this diet, that's okay, because you had the experience of learning how to control your food on this diet in a healthy manner or in some manner, or you learned something. And then you can apply that to the next time that you decide to try again. You see what I'm saying? They're little rock bottoms that make a bigger rock bottom. They're little rock bottoms that change little itty bitty things that you're doing, which then add up to this big, huge thing. Like by 2012, was it 2012? By 2012, I wasn't buying Hostess cupcakes very often. I was making a cake at home. After this surgery, after I found out I was diabetic, I never bought another pre-made cupcake again. Now that I've had the surgery, I make a chocolate cake and make my own homemade whipped cream, and I put my own homemade dark chocolate ganache on it, and I put chocolate chips in the cake, and I cut that thing in half, and I put my homemade whipped cream on there, and I put that on there, and guess what I've got? I've now got a homemade cake. I've got a homemade Hostess cupcake, and you know what? That sits in my belly and tastes better, feels better, and makes me feel better than the overly processed and sugared cupcake, Hostess cupcake. If you want the Hostess cupcake, eat it. Don't bar yourself. But when you make it homemade, it sits in your belly different, because these are the choices that you have to make to get better. These are the choices that you have to make to get healthy. If you are doing drugs and you're exchanging one drug that's a lesser drug from another drug that's a lesser drug, you know, you're going down from heroin to this one to that one. I don't know how that would work. Somebody could tell me in the, you know, comments, you know, maybe you go down there and now you're just popping pills. You know, you've gone from injectables to popping pills, and you know, now it's like, okay, you can think better. You can go, okay, yeah, I got to take control and not do these anymore. You know, that's what they're trying to get across, is you're going to have a lot of little rock bottoms before you hit your giant rock bottom, where now you have to make the choice of, what am I doing? Am I including these things in my life? Am I including these things again in my life? 15:33 on the timer. Am I going to do that? Do I want to go back there? I just got out of rehab. Do I really want to put a Hostess cupcake 2 weeks after gastric bypass surgery in my mouth? No. I know someone, I love them very dearly. They got out, because you're in the hospital for 3 days. They got out of the hospital and started drinking Mountain Dew and eating Cheetos. It's all a choice in what you're making. And you're going to be able to make these little choices before you hit that rock bottom. And I want you to remember, these itty bitty little choices that you're making to change you, to change your life, that's healing. Because healing isn't just this one big giant thing that plops down in front of you. Healing is a lot of little things that you choose to change that lead to this greater healing. And a lot of people are going to doubt you. A lot of people are going to go, yeah, right, you're not going to lose the weight again. You're always trying, but you never win. You never win. Somebody may have said that to you, but you never lose weight. Like, you always say you're going to, but then you lose 5 pounds and then you gain 10 pounds back. Don't listen to them. Because when you are ready, when you've reached your rock bottom, internally, you will know that you're ready. And you won't have that feeling of, you know what, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm not sure if I can do this. It's a real strong, I can do this. And I'm going to do it now. And I know. It's like this vein that runs through the core of your body that says, I am done. I'm not doing that shit anymore. Fuck this. And if you don't believe me, I don't care, because I believe in me. And my belief in me, that I can change my eating habits by relearning how to eat and moving, getting fake sugars out of my diet, sticking with regular natural sugars like sugarcane, honey, maple syrup, if you like those. Stevia is not natural and it's overly sweet. You've got to look at the sweetness index, because when you're addicted to food, the sweetness index of everything matters, because you're also addicted to the high sugar count and the carb count. And when you start with fake sugars, you end up being more addicted to sugar and carbs that make sugar. I've thought about this. So yes, you're the one that has to make those choices. You're the one that has to make the choices of, I'm choosing not to go there. And when you do, you'll feel it internally, and you'll know that you're going to succeed this time. And like I said in the beginning, the people who will stand by you and believe you will stand by you and believe you. And when you look at them and go, I'm going to do it this time, they're going to look at you and go, okay. If you need help, I'm here. And when you come and you say, I'm having a really bad day, they're going to go, okay, what you need? And they're the ones that they're not going to lecture you. They're not going to one-up you. They're not going to be assholes. They're just going to go, okay, you're doing real good. What do you need? They're going to be the ones that encourage you, the ones that lift you up so that you can succeed better than you ever have before. Yeah, I think that's what we got for you. So I believe you. And I know that 1934, 1933 too. I believe in you, and I know that you can do it. Because you know how far you can do things, and you know how far you will go when you're doing them. And you know when you're ready to fully commit to what it is that you need to commit to, okay? Anyway, be good, behave, be happy, and be yourself.